Hi there. This is Dr. Greg Gorman. I'm doing another in my series of videos about things you will encounter in clinical practice that you may not have learned about in school. And today I want to talk about one that I think is probably my least favorite of all of them. People who don't want their neck adjusted and yet are coming to the chiropractor. It totally blew my mind. So when I first started working, I worked for a doctor in the Back Bay in Boston. He had a very busy practice, and I took all the overflow. So I would go check with him before I saw his patients, and he would give me a list of things that to keep in mind. And sometimes it was very important clinical information. For example, one of the first times I remember was a woman who had rheumatoid arthritis, and she had ligament laxity in your upper cervical spine. So good to know. You need to do things very differently in that situation. But much of it were personal preferences of the patients. So that did not work for me. Having just graduated from Life West, I was fairly self-righteous about what I was doing. I'll totally cop to that because I think all new chiropractors are like that. But I had a very strong sense of what I needed to do for the patient, and I was pretty well prepared when I got out of school. I knew what I wanted to do for people to help them. And sometimes the things they liked or didn't like kind of got in the way of that. So I followed the recommendations of my boss. Obviously, it was what we did in that practice. But as I got more experienced, I was not so down with that, and I would try to cajole and influence the patient to let me do things the way that I knew would help them the most. And I was really shocked the first time someone said, "Don't adjust my neck." I kind of was like, well, that's like going to the psychotherapist and not wanting to talk about your mother. And I also knew that it was probably one of the safest things that we can do to treat people that are in pain. And it's also, it's very effective. So it was a little bit surprising to me that people didn't want the cervical spine adjusting. Now, I took it seriously, and I never adjusted any, and I still don't. I never adjusted anyone's neck that did not really want it. But it threw me a little bit, and immediately I took it personally, and I think that's a big mistake, obviously, because it's not about you. And I don't know if you've watched my other video yet, but I think the theme of all these videos basically is going to be, it is not about you. You cannot take these situations personally. So a couple cases come to mind. I had a friend who wanted to see me, and he had neck pain. Of course, they usually have neck pain, which is the surprising thing to me, that they wouldn't want anyone to adjust their neck, because the first time it happened to me, I was absolutely shocked at how much better I felt. So I really want to provide that for people. And this guy came in, and I don't think he'd actually been to a chiropractor. So I adjusted him, and he felt like that was the worst thing anyone had ever done for him. It totally shocked me, because I was like, you're going to feel so much better. You have no idea. But he hated it, and he never wanted it again. And instead of just going along with that, what I could have done is I could have offered him the activator. I could have offered him various things that I have learned over the years, such as the direction of energy technique from upledger craniosacral therapy, or the SOT stair stepping. But I was fairly self-righteous about it, and I literally said to him, "Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm going to be doing stuff to people that is dangerous and scary all day long? This stuff works." He wasn't having it. He wasn't interested. A lot of times these people are not, they're not going to listen to you. And I would not spend too much energy trying to educate them. I think it's important to talk about the safety and the efficacy. Many of these people are very frightened of the stroke issues, which you need to take very seriously. Obviously, we're going to be covering that in our informed consent. But if you give them the data, generally they get it. They get that what we're doing is really safe. But these people with the preconceived notions, sometimes they're not interested. So your best bet is to offer them something different that's not the manual manipulation with the cavitation, because that's what they think the cervical spine manipulation is. They don't know that we can do it with other means. So I've rarely had anybody say no to that, and I think that's a really good tack to take. I know that a lot of the schools will teach regional adjusting, and a lot of the insurance companies want us to do regional adjusting. They don't want full spine. They don't want to pay for it. But for me, that doesn't make any sense. If you understand the proprioceptive reflexes in the spinal joints, and if you understand the visual writing reflex, you have to adjust the full spine. So that's my opinion, but I do believe that. So I was never down with not adjusting anybody's neck. But I think that my recommendation in these situations is you can't take it personally. I was very surprised, and I felt like, well, they think I'm stupid for doing this. They think that I'm doing things that are wrong and bad. And honestly, that's not what they're doing. They're just communicating their fear. It's a little bit of neurosis, and you just have to accept it. If they're not going to be open to the education that you do, don't sweat it and don't take it personally. Now, I have had a couple of situations where I have had to turn patients away, and I don't want to do that. I love to help people. That's the whole point, is to be here to help people. And but a couple of them have really not wanted the activator on the neck, or to me even to touch the neck, and that doesn't make any sense to me. So personally, I don't treat them. And we don't have to accept patients if we've not established a relationship with them. If we're covering this in the initial intake, you can send them on their way if you want to. And I would encourage you to not be afraid to do that every once in a while. Certainly, if you have, if that's happening a lot, that may be you. It may be partially the way you're communicating, but I honestly don't have that happen very much. But if people are wanting me to do things that don't make any sense, at this point, I don't want to or have to do that. But I think that the main gist that I want to get across in this video is that it can turn into a mental trap, and you can start, blaming yourself or feeling personally offended and letting that get in the way of helping somebody. The point is that we want to help. And if you get stuck in your head around these issues, you're not going to be able to help. So get out of your own way. Don't take it personally, and offer options to help the patient. And if they don't want the options that you're offering, then you are free to not treat them. If you've not established a relationship with them, obviously it's a little more complicated if you're going to be dismissing them, which I think I've only done twice in 25 years. So if this video resonates for you, if you like what I'm saying, if you like how I'm saying that, I would very much encourage you to give me a call. I had a mentor the first 5 years of practice. The doctor I worked with was very interested in being my mentor. And I don't know what I would have done without that. It was an amazing experience, and I would not be where I am today, which is in a pretty good place. I attribute that to having a mentor. So I'm coaching, and I'm offering people what I got from that mentor. If you're liking what I'm saying, if you're struggling in practice, if it's not quite what you thought it was, if it's not gone quite the way you think it should, then give me a call. I can help you. I can be that mentor. I've made mistakes, and I've learned from the mistakes, and I've done a lot of things right, obviously, since, hello, I'm still here. But, it's hard. And I even, to this day, I'm working with a coach weekly, and I have for years, and it's extremely helpful. It helps me get out of my own way. Help me to help you get out of your own way and have the practice that you want and be happy. So give me a call.